Kweku spent 1/2/11 of his weekly allowance on food, 3/8 of the remainder on rent, and 1/9 of what still remained on books. If he still had 10 Ghana cedis left, find his allowance per week, the amount he spent on rent, the amount he spent on books. Kweku spent 2/11 of his weekly allowance on food. Then after that, what remained, he spent 3/8 of what remained on rent. Then what remained after that, he spent 1/9 of it on books and still had 10 Ghana cedis left. So we are supposed to find his weekly allowance or his allowance per week. Then we will find the amount he spent on rent. Then we find the amount he spent on books. The first thing that we have to do is to let a variable represent the weekly allowance, since that is the main thing that we have to find. So we are going to let A represent the weekly allowance. We know in the question that the amount of money left after spending on books is 10 Ghana cedis. So we need to find the amount of money left after spending on books in terms of fractions. Now you can see that the 10 Ghana cedis here is in terms of actual money. So we have to find the amount of money left after spending on books in terms of fractions so that we can equate that to this. To begin with that, we first need to find the amount of money spent on food. The question told us that it is 2/11 of the weekly allowance. The weekly allowance is A. So before Kweku started spending on food, before he started the whole expenditure, he had A on him. That is, the amount of money he had was A, his weekly allowance. So he spent 2/11 of that on food. Now 2/11 of A will give us 2/11 times A/1. A/1 is the same as A. So you are going to have 2A/11. So this is the amount of money he spent on food. Now after spending on food, the remainder will be the weekly allowance. That is what he started with before spending on food, minus what he spent on food. We know that the weekly allowance is A. So if you subtract that from what he spent on food, which is 2A/11, you are going to have A minus 2A/11. A is the same as A/1, so minus 2A/11. The LCM will be 11, so 11 divided by 1 is 11 times A will give us 11A. 11 divided by 11 is 1 times 2A will give us 2A. So we have 11A minus 2A. From algebra, we know that that is 9A/11. So after spending on food, this is the amount that Kwesi have on him. This is the amount that he has on him, 9A/11. So he spent 3/8 of this amount, that is 9A/11, on rent. So before he started to spend on rent, he had 9A/11 on him, and he spent 3/8 of that on rent. So he spent 3/8 of the remainder after spending on food on rent. So it's going to be 3/8 of or times 9A/11. Here there are no common factors to simplify out, so you multiply 3 by 9A, that will give us 27A. 8 by 11, that will give us 88. So this is the amount he spent on rent. So after spending on rent, the remainder will be the amount that he had before he spent on rent, which is the amount after spending on food. We know that the amount he had before spending on rent will be 9A/11, the same as the amount after spending on food. Then this is the amount he spent on food. So if you want the remainder, it's the amount he had after spending on food, which is 9A/11, minus the amount he spent on rent, which we have found here to be 27A/88. So in actual sense, before he began spending on rent, he had 9A/11 on him. Then he spent 27A/88 on rent. So if you want the amount left, it's going to be 9A/11 minus 27A/88. LCM for 11 and 88 is 88. So from here, we are going to have 88 divided by 11, which is 8, times 9a. Which you have here, so we have 8 times 9a. Then minus 88 divided by 88 is 1, times 27a. We have that here. 8 times 9 will give us 27. So we have 8 times 9a giving us 27a, minus 1 times 27 will give us 8 times 9 will give us 72. So we have 8 times 9a giving us 72a, then minus 1 times 27 will give us 27. So 1 times 27a will give us 27a divided by 88. 72a minus 27a will give us 45a over, then we bring the division sign and over 88. So after spending on rent, the amount that he has on him, that's the remainder before he goes on to his next expenditure, is 45a over 88. Then the question told us that he spent 1 over 9 of this amount. The amount you are referring to here is 45a over 88. He spent 1 over 9 of that on books. So before he started spending on books, the amount he had on him was 45a over 88. The question says that he spent 1 over 9 of this on books. So 1 over 9 of the remaining after spend on rent. The remainder after spend on rent is 45a over 88. So from here we simplify. So 9 can cancel 45. 9 will cancel 45 for us to get 5. So we have 1 over 1. 9 has cancelled itself 1. So 1 over 1 times. 9 will cancel 45 5 times. So 5 over 88. So 5a over 88. From here we know that this will give us 5a divided by 88. So this is the amount he spent on books. Remember that the amount he had before spending on books was 45a minus 88. That was the amount of money he had before spending on books. Then he spent 5a over 88 on books. So if you want the remainder after spending on books, will be the amount he had before spending on books, which is the remainder after spending on rent, minus the amount he spent on books. The amount he had before spending on books was 45a over 88. The amount he spent on books is 5a over 88. So from here, LCM of 88 and 88 is already 88. So 88 divided by 88 will give us 1, times 45a will give us 45a, then minus 88 divided by 88 will give us 1, times 5a will give us 5a. So we have 45a minus 5a will give us 40a divided by 88. So from here, we can simplify further. So 5 will cancel 40, 8 will cancel 40 5 times, and it will cancel 88 11 times. So we have 5 over 11a. So this is simplified to the simplest form. So this is broken down to the simplest form to get 5a over 11. So we can say that in terms of fractions, the amount of money left after spending on books, because we can see from here that after spending on books, he has 5a over 11. The question told us that in terms of actual money, the amount of money he had after spending on books is 10 Ghana cedis. We have found that in terms of fractions, the amount of money he had after spending on books is 5a over 11. So we can equate these two. So we equate 5a over 11 to 10. We multiply both sides by 11. So we multiply this side here by 11. We multiply this side here by 11. So 11 will cancel 11 to give us 5a. Then from here we have 11 times 10. We divide here by 5, divide here by 5, since we want to make a the subject. So we divide here by 5, divide here by 5. 11 times 10 will give us 110 divided by 5. So you have a to be equal to 110 divided by 5. 110 divided by 5 will give us 22. So a is 22. So his weekly allowance is 22. So we can say that Kweku's weekly allowance is 22 Ghana cedis, since A is the Kweku's weekly allowance. The question told us to find the amount of money left after spending on rent. We know that the amount of money left, the question told us to find the amount of money he spent on rent. The amount of money he spent on rent is 27A over 88. We have found A to be 22, so we replace A with 22. So we have 27 times 22 divided by 88. 27 times 22 will give us 594. We divide that by 88, and that will give us 6.75. So we can say that, therefore, Kweku spent 6 Ghana cedis, 6.75 Ghana cedis on rent, or 6 Ghana cedis, 75 pesos on rent. Then he told us once again to find the amount of money he spent on books. The amount of money he spent on books was 5A over 88. That is in terms of fraction. We have now found A to be 22. So we replace A with 22. So 5 times 22 divided by 88. 5 times 22 is 110. We divide that by 88, and that is giving us 1.25. So we can say that he spent 1.25 Ghana cedis on books, or 1 Ghana cedis 25 pesos on books.